I have somebody stalking my shoes. These cats love my shoes and socks. I don't know what's up with these cats. These cats are freaking lunatics. You're a lunatic. But that's not what this is about. This is Neil's On Dynasty. Please like, share, subscribe. Thank you. Be kind, helpful, and grateful because it's better than being a jerk. Buy some silver, some platinum, and some crystallized osmium because it's sound advice. It's good for you to do financially in these hard times. And yes, they are hard times. It's hard to get a hold of this stuff. You don't have money. That's why you need to buy it. When you don't have the ability to get a lot of something is when you should probably get that something if that asset is sound, solid, and real. And if you get it in your hands, the value will go up eventually. I just was going through my stuff and I found a 10th ounce gold coin. I was like, what? I bought it back in like 2008. Forgot all about it. I needed some money. I paid 80, 90 bucks for it. Sold it for 250. Helped me out. Just a 10th ounce. Bought it, how many years ago was that? 16 years ago? 80, 90 bucks. Threw it in my thingy-majiggers. Forgot about it. Needed some money. Was going through my shit. Hey, found it. Boom. That's how it works. Anyhow, that's not what this is about. This is 1 hour old Pan-African lens. Burkina Faso recalls ambassador from Ivory Coast in shocking move. This is what you guys need to do. See this little thumbs up here? Do that for my channel too. But this is Pan-Africa, so let's see what they have to say.
Welcome back to Pan-African Lens.
Welcome,
you're
welcome.
Dive into the geopolitical stories shaping Africa today.
Let's give you guys full
screen. In a
screen.
recent and unexpected development, Burkina Faso has recalled its ambassadors from Ivory Coast. This surprising move has raised eyebrows across the region and beyond, signaling a deepening of tensions between these two
I take it they didn't
West
do
African
anything
nations.
for two Scooby snacks.
Could this be the tipping point in a simmering crisis that has been quietly unfolding for years? And what does this say about the current state of African geopolitics, particularly between nations like Burkina Faso, Ivory Coast, and their contrasting allegiances? Today, we'll unpack the complex dynamics that led to this diplomatic fallout, focusing on the political landscape, the role of foreign influence, especially France, and the broader implications for West Africa's stability. Could this escalation lead to a broader crisis? Or is there still room for reconciliation? Let's dive in. To understand the significance of this moment, we need to look back to 2022, when Ibrahim Traoré came to power in Burkina Faso. Since then, the country has been on a trajectory that has profoundly reshaped its foreign relations, particularly with former colonial powers like France. Traoré's government has taken a firm anti-colonial stance, positioning itself in opposition to what many see as lingering influence in the region. This shift hasn't sat well with certain West African leaders, especially President Alassane Ouattara of Ivory Coast, a leader seen by many as a close ally of France. This tension has been bubbling beneath the surface, but Burkina Faso's decision to recall its ambassadors marks a significant escalation. What's behind this dramatic move? And how deep do the fractures between these two countries run? Before we continue, welcome to Pan-African Lens. If you're passionate about Africa's diverse cultures, rich history, development, and the contemporary issues shaping the continent and its diaspora, you've come to the right place. Be sure to subscribe and join the conversation as we explore these powerful stories together. Let's continue.
Please.
To truly grasp the current diplomatic crisis, it's essential to understand how Alassane Ouattara came to power in Ivory Coast.
That's a cool wavy flag.
Ouattara's rise to the presidency in 2011 came after a contentious and bloody election crisis. His predecessor, Laurent Gbagbo, refused to concede defeat in the 2010 presidential elections, leading to a brutal civil war that left thousands dead. The international community, led by France, intervened in the conflict, supporting Ouattara's claim to the presidency. French forces played a decisive role in ousting Gbagbo, who was eventually arrested and sent to the International Criminal Court, ICC, in The Hague on charges of crimes against humanity. After a long trial, Gbagbo was acquitted in 2019.
Okay, first off, if this dude, or Bagwo, went up against the other guy and there was a civil war in that country and France backed the other side, threw that guy in jail, and 9 years later he was acquitted, to my logic, that would mean that France backed the illegal dude, and because the dude who France didn't back was just acquitted by this world court, that means that France is guilty. Just because. If the one party is not guilty, the other party has to be guilty if there's only two parties in a squabble. That means that France did go in there and manipulate things badly, and France needs to be taken to that same world court and held accountable. Trudeau needs to be held accountable for, or the French leader, whatever his name is, Macron, needs to be held accountable, or the president at the time back in 2010 when this happened. That person, that leader, needs to be held accountable in France. If it's not I don't think Macron had it back in 2010, but this outright tells me that France committed war crimes. But hey, I'm an idiot.
But the scars of France's heavy-handed involvement in Ivorian politics remain. Many see Ouattara as a puppet president, installed by France to protect its interests in the region. This history sets the stage for the current tension between Burkina Faso and Ivory Coast. As Burkina Faso distances itself from France and seeks new alliances with countries like Russia, Ouattara has maintained his close relationship with French President Emmanuel Macron, fueling suspicions in Ouagadougou about Ivory Coast's role in destabilizing the region. One of the primary reasons cited for Burkina Faso's decision to recall its ambassadors is its long-standing accusation that Ivory Coast has been harboring Burkinabe politicians and ex-military figures intent on destabilizing Traore's government. Since Ibrahim Traore took power, his government has repeatedly pointed fingers at Ivory Coast, accusing the country of serving as a safe haven for those plotting against Burkina Faso. It's worth noting that Burkina Faso isn't the only country making such accusations. Niger, another member of the Alliance of Sahel States, AES, has also accused Benin, a close ally of Ivory Coast, of harboring French troops intent on undermining Niger's stability. As AES countries like Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger pivot towards Russia and distance themselves from Western influence, the more these accusations seem to arise. This alignment with Russia is seen as a direct threat to Western hegemony in the region, especially by countries like Ivory Coast and Benin, who have long been closely tied to France. But why would these nations go so far as to risk regional instability by allegedly harboring coup plotters and terrorists? To further illustrate the underlying tensions, let's look at the pipeline crisis between Niger and Benin.
Hold on a second here. Let's look at the pipeline between Dubai AEU and Burkina Faso, and Dubai stealing 500 tons of gold over 10 years or so and supporting terrorists and extremists in Burkina Faso. So I just want to bring that to your attention. I actually did 2 videos on that. I just don't want you guys to be blaming just the white colonials. It's also the brown boys up there in northern Africa that are doing this to Western Africa. So, blame evil is worldwide. It just doesn't land in the West. It's worldwide. Actually, the West is the least evil. So these reports I bring you, as evil as they are, know that we are the least evil. So just imagine what China and Russia and Dubai and Saudi Arabia and Iran are doing. I can bring you pictures of them cutting people's heads off, throwing them off buildings because they don't have any civil rights or anything. But hey, let's just focus on the good guys, because we have been bad and we have been bad, but not nearly as bad as the other guys. So you don't want to destroy the good guys. You just want to smack them on the back of the fingers with a ruler and tell them they've been bad and to get in line so they can run the world in the proper direction and not an improper direction, in my opinion. Because I damn sure don't want Russia and China in charge.
Which is emblematic of the larger geopolitical struggle unfolding in West Africa. Niger, another AES country, has been at odds with Benin over a pipeline project that is crucial for its economic growth. Niger accuses Benin of sabotaging the project to serve French interests, and there have been allegations that French troops stationed in Benin are actively working to destabilize Niger's government. This crisis mirrors the accusations Burkina Faso is making against Ivory Coast. Just as Niger sees Benin as a puppet of France, Burkina Faso views Ivory Coast through a similar lens, suspecting that its leadership is more concerned with protecting French interests than fostering genuine regional cooperation. Could these tensions escalate into something more? Or will diplomacy prevail before it's too late? There's also a more personal dimension to the current crisis. Alassane Ouattara, like many African leaders of his generation, is deeply fearful of the wave of military coups sweeping through West Africa. He belongs to an older generation of leaders who came to power through elections, often backed by Western nations, and see military coups as a direct threat to their own legitimacy. Ouattara's hardline stance against
Perceived
the AES
legitimacy.
countries, particularly his support for ECOWAS sanctions on military-led governments in Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger, has only deepened the divide. Ouattara was one of the most vocal ECOWAS leaders pushing for military intervention in Niger following the recent coup there, further alienating Burkina Faso and its allies. For leaders like Ouattara, these coups represent a dangerous precedent that could threaten their own grip on power. But here's where the story takes an interesting turn. While Ouattara and other ECOWAS leaders have adopted a combative stance, many Ivorians themselves support Ibrahim Traore and the AES leaders.
Yeah.
On social media, you'll find countless Ivorian citizens praising Traore's bold leadership and expressing their wish for a similar leader to rise in
Yes.
Ivory Coast.
And one needs to.
This growing sentiment of Pan-African solidarity suggests that the tension between Burkina Faso and Ivory Coast's governments may not reflect the views of the people themselves.
No, they don't reflect it. It's all politics, people. It's all politics. It's the leaders that have been put in place that are causing all this crap to happen. Here in America, we have the greatness of being able to supposedly elect our leaders, but we actually have to be involved with the electoral process to make sure it's all functioning properly. As soon as we just, oh, I pushed a button, I voted for him, and I went off and drank some beers and partied with my buddies. Who do you know is counting that button push that you did? I mean, you got to be involved if it's important. I mean, I know people are used to like, oh yeah, I'm raising 2 kids. Oh, where are they at now? Oh, they're going to be staying in a public school system for 12 years for, a third of their life where I don't have anything to do with them. But I'm raising them. Yeah, they're with me. They sleep 1/3 of the time. Same amount of time they're in school, they're sleeping with me. And the other third of the time, yeah, who knows where the hell they are. But I'm raising them. Okay. Yeah, whatever. Anyhow, you guys have a good night. I got a lot of things to complain about.